Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. It's a real pleasure to welcome you here at the London Stock Exchange Group. I'm really delighted to meet you all. You come from different backgrounds, from very interesting entrepreneurial experiences, and I think that this event, which follows the very successful Mongolian Capital Market Days held at the end of April, is definitely a further step forward in enhancing the networking between our two countries, as well as networking and business fostering between Mongolia and London, and through London, Europe as a whole.
And I think what actually differentiates Mongolia from the rest of the Central Asian countries and some even Eastern Asian countries is definitely Mongolian, very open-minded. We're actually willing to learn, and more importantly, I think we're a very democratic country. We do have good regulations, we do have a good business environment. We do actually ensure that investors' protection are actually at the foremost and importance of the government. So all this hopefully will provide the sort of background for Mongolia to become the financial hub for the Central Asia. So thank you for sharing that vision with us, and we appreciate the honor of opening the London Stock Exchange today. And I'm very glad to see many women in this room, and I certainly believe that the more women you actually do have in government, in the private sector, and everywhere else, the development of the country actually is spurred by that devotion and commitment that the women tend to give to any business that we set our minds to. So I'd like to welcome all the women also here. And let me actually just give a very quick overview of the Mongolian economy, and then I'll talk slightly a little bit more about Development Bank of Mongolia. Development Bank of Mongolia is only 1 year old. We were established in May 2012. We opened our doors, and within 1 year we actually made a tremendous success. We were the first sovereign bond issuer in the international market. We set the benchmark for Mongolia, which was waited for many years, and it was a tremendous success, and we do hope even to get an award for 2012 emerging market deal, because our bonds were oversubscribed 11 times. We had a very even distribution of our investors, 30% out of 32% out of Europe, 32% out of Americas, and 33 were somewhere like that from Asia. And so I think within 1 year we've really set our bank as one of the most important institutions in Mongolia, financing for the government. The current government and Prime Minister Mr. Bakbold are very dedicated to developing capital markets in Mongolia, including the revamping of Mongolian Stock Exchange, setting up the Development Bank of Mongolia. These are very policy instruments for the government to really spur the economic growth and support everyone support the economic growth. I just wonder if everyone can hear me well, right? Okay. So just to give you a quick overview about the Mongolia. For the past few years, Mongolia is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And if you've noticed in many publications, including research by ADB, IMF, and World Bank, as well as commercial global banks such as Citi, Mongolia has been noted as one of the fastest growing countries in the world. In fact, IMF expects us to be the fourth largest, fastest growing economy in the world, and our GDP is expected to have double-digit growth for the next decade. For the 2011, our GDP growth was 17.3%, and that's, I think, incredible considering the global economic slowdown and other areas of problems in other regions. And Mongolia is a big country, and I don't know, I'm sure that people in this room have seen the map of Mongolia, but we do have a small population of only 2.8 million people. Nevertheless, our population is very young. Half of the population is working age. 68% of our population is below 34%, and that is actually a tremendous factor in our growth. I think by 2015, the population is going to increase. 2020, I believe, the population is expected to grow to 5 million. More importantly, GDP per capita, which is now at 3,000, is going to increase fourfold by 2014. So GDP per growth is expected to be 15 million. With such a young population and our commitment for the education, I think Mongolia has the most important factor in the economic growth, human power. Next to that, of course, Mongolia was blessed with the abundance of natural resources. And when we talk about the natural resources, it's not only the mineral resources that we have, it's actually solar, wind power, our agriculture sector, all the renewable sources we also have to also include in this as a natural resources. But for a moment, I think the main driver of the economy is definitely mining sector. So we have to talk about the mining sector. Mongolia is one of the countries which has one of the richest mineral resources in the entire world. And we have one of the largest coal reserves, and our coal reserves is around 16 billion tons of coal. And it's not just only the coal reserves itself, but also the quality of the coal that we possess is quite important. We also do have one of the largest deposits in copper. Our copper deposit, again, what actually differentiates our copper deposit against the quality of the deposits. Every copper deposit has gold, silver, and other minerals in that. Iron ore, very important for our neighbors, particularly for China and India and other emerging markets, because there is a tremendous growth and industrialization is happening in those countries, and iron ore is important for us. Rare earth metals, and I know for the past 2 years, I think there was a huge discussion about the rare earth metals and how Chinese actually using that monopoly on the rare earth deposits and etc. So Mongolia does have a rare earth. We do have uranium, which is one of our strategic assets, and of course. But what I want to highlight, when we talk about our mineral resources, we want to make sure that our mining operations are done in accordance to international practices, that we are actually bringing the most friendly, environment-friendly operations. We make sure that foreign direct investments actually are supported by the government, and hence for our major strategic projects, we invite foreign international mining operations, and Anotonella, as you're all well aware, is developed by Rio Tinto. So all that actually helps us to spur the growth. Well, I'm going to very quickly go through the presentations. I don't think it's quite self-explanatory. You can see the economic growth since 2007 to 2011. The accumulated average growth was 21.5%, and that's actually tremendous. And all is on the back of our mining sector. And one would think why Mongolia has such a tremendous foreign direct investments and such a growth in their mining sector. It is because of our legal environment. I think we made it very business friendly. In fact, the Rio Tinto enjoys 30 years of stability agreement with the government, stability in taxes, and which can be extended 2020, so altogether 70 years of stability. And that's actually something which puts at ease investors' mind. Let's move to the next slide. Here you can see our main of course, as I mentioned before, the mineral resources and export of minerals has been the driving force behind the rapid growth of the economy. As a GDP growth, as a percent of GDP growth, mineral exports represented 54% in the GDP, nominal GDP. 89% of the total exports, and you can see that the components of our exports primarily are coal. I think it's 47%, followed by copper, which is around 23%. We do have exports of gold, iron, crude oil. Crude oil is always overlooked by other minerals. We do have a crude oils, and PetroChina is working on our crude oil operations. We do have actually a London-listed Mongolian entity, Petromatat, which is also exploring potential of our oil industry. Let's move to the next slide. And this is the map of our major strategic deposits. The government altogether identified 26 strategic deposits. However, only a few of them actually getting are in production and being developed. And as you can see, the entire map of Mongolia is covered with the deposits in coal, copper, and gold, iron, and etc. It's just to show you the potential of the country. And of course, when you have all these mineral deposits and you have two major neighbors, Russia and China, the potential for the Mongolian growth is substantial, particularly with the rapidly developing China and industrialization in China. Our exports will continue to be supported by this growth. In fact, Mongolia replaced Australia in terms of total exports of coal to China last year. So that actually just shows the potential of the mining sector in Mongolia. Next slide. I just want to highlight two major strategic deposit operations in Mongolia. Of course, you've read so many newspaper articles and research on these two operations. One is Tavan Tolgoi. Tavan Tolgoi is one of the largest undeveloped coal operations in the world. It started production last year, August last year. We've already shipping coal to China, and the proximity to the Chinese border, the quality of the coal makes one of the mining operations that deserve attention of the global investors. The second operation I want to highlight, this is sort of a landmark transaction for Mongolia. This is Oyu Tolgoi project, where we have one of the largest deposits of copper as well. 34% of the operations is owned by the government of Mongolia. 66% is owned by foreign investors, and out of the 66%, 51% is owned by Rio Tinto. I think we should really highlight here that the quality of the mining operations brought by Rio Tinto definitely sets this operation apart from all the Central Asian and other mining operations in the region. Both operations, particularly the Oyu Tolgoi operation, is making a tremendous progress in the implementation. Last year, it brought almost $4 billion into economy. And it's 68%, 70% already completed. We do hope that beginning of 2013 and optimistically maybe even in the last quarter of the 2012, the operations of Oyu Tolgoi will be going full speed into commercial production. With these two mining operations going into full production, of course, the revenue for the government will increase substantially. The economic growth will spur substantially.